Berger Paints. The Managing Director and CEO, Abhijit Roy, is now joining us live on the market. Good morning. Thank you so much. We hosted you exactly 3 weeks ago after the quarterly performance. And, that time the world was very, very different. At that time, you didn't think that inflation was going to be a major cause of concern. With crude now hitting a triple-digit mark, the war that we're seeing when it comes to Russia as well as Ukraine, what is it going to mean for companies like yours, which are so dependent on crude?
Yes, it is a problem. There is no doubt on that. Because it is going to fuel inflation, and at the same time, the RM costs directly linked to crude will go up. There is a part of it. In our case, probably about 35 to 40%, which gets strongly influenced by crude prices. The rest remains more or less stable or is not linked to crude as such, and more linked to possibly other factors. There it is relatively much more stable, and there's no impact as far as prices are concerned. But all those areas which are linked to crude, they will see an impact. To short term, of course, it's not going to matter so much, because we have some finished goods and raw material which will last. At least the March will get over, and till April possibly it will carry on. It is going to impact us in the first quarter of next year in terms of profitability. So that is definitely going to happen if we don't raise the prices. So the price rise has to happen possibly to counter this. What will happen to the demand if we do that will be the next question, and that has to be seen when it happens.
I was going to ask you that what would happen to demand, because there is Mengai. If you had done a steep price hike in November of 2021, if I'm not mistaken, do you think the consumer will be able to absorb more price hikes?
So, it will impact demand for sure. How much and what extent is difficult to call. But there will be, some impact on the demand. It can't be that, prices keep increasing and the demand remains very stable or keeps growing as well. So that will have an impact. As I said, it is very difficult to judge, how much of that will impact us. There are many other factors which are there, in terms of increasing sale or demand for, our goods. We have, we can increase the distribution reach, which is a new areas which can come into play. The existing counters, of course, this will get impacted a little bit, in terms, especially in the rural areas, we are seeing a little bit of a slowdown. The urban areas still holding, relatively firm. So from that perspective, we need to understand, while we go forward, how will it look like?
Work. A 10% fuel price, 10% hike in crude means a 10% price hike at product level. Is that as simple as we're trying to connect?
No, so it's much lower actually. So, as I said, the solvents, so we have, just to quickly tell you, we have this water-based paint and the solvent-based paint. In the water-based paint, the primary ingredients are emulsions and which are dependent on monomers, which are crude derivative, but it depends much more on, the demand-supply equation. So as of now, it is relatively stable. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it goes down, depending on the demand and supply. It may go up because it is linked to oil, but we don't, as of now, there is no such indication. Then there is this titanium dioxide, which has got nothing to do with crude, and it is again demand supply linked. And the third is extenders, which has, zero linkage with crude, so therefore, and additives also zero linkage with crude. So almost 70% or 80%, you can say, is, not linked to crude in the water-based paint. It's only monomers, and that is indirectly linked. It's a derivative of crude, so it may be, getting impacted. On the solvent-based side, on the other hand, it is a directly, it gets impacted, because when the prices go up, the solvent prices also go up along with it. So, but that portion of sale for most paint companies, in our case at least, I know that, it is relatively much lower, so it's less than, 25, 20%, approximately around that point. So if you see, therefore, the direct impact, that's the impact where we will be impacted. Those prices have to be raised, and there will be, possibly some sort of demand shrinkage happening there.
How did you deal with this kind of a situation few years ago? It's not for the first time crude has gone to 130, 115, 120. It has happened in the past also. Crude had gone to
Yeah.
125, $130. What was the strategy there? And when crude went higher, when you passed on the price hike, did that impact demand?
So yes, Nikunj, we had increased prices at that point too, and we had passed on the price increases to customers. And at that point of time, initially it does impact the demand a little bit, but soon things settle down and it's back to normal.
Abhijit, just wanted to understand about the decorative paints factory as well in Russia. Is it functioning normally? I know it's a very small operation right now, but tell us how much the revenues come from that factory.
So it's negligible actually. The total sales, if you ask me, will be around 10 crores on a base of 8,000 crores approximately for us. So, it doesn't matter as such. But to answer your other question, yes, it is functional and it is, normally functioning as of now.
Run us through what the consumer offtake has been like, because the independent channel checks seem to indicate that there has been a bit of a slowdown. You alluded to those price hikes as well.
So, slowdown is impacted on two factors. One, we had done this price increases, so there was some stocking up which was there. So that would have impacted a little bit in the month of January. And in the rural areas, upcountry areas, especially in the northern belt, we have seen a little bit of a slowdown there. Whereas, in the west and the south, the demand has relatively held up. So that's a mixed sort of a bag as of now.
Also, the home improvement trend that started during COVID, is that demand still very much there? Your Omicron is behind us. Offices are also reopening.
So that's what I said, that in the urban areas we see relatively stable demand. Possibly, part of it is driven by this fact that there is this home improvement, whatever was happening, especially after the Omicron has gone away. A lot of people who had postponed at that point of time are now using this time to possibly paint. So yes, urban centers relatively better.
Okay. Abhijit, with all the kind of uncertainty that is on play right now, the bigger players usually get bigger. If we look at the market and the paint industry, it's pretty much four players. We keep hearing now and then about large corporate houses that may want to enter the paint business, and they have, we've seen that, for example, with the Jindals, etc. In this kind of uncertainty, do you see the players becoming bigger? Is there scope for consolidation? How do you see the landscape changing?
So it's, as of now, too premature to say, what will happen in the future. I've kept on saying that, yes, we have certain advantages of being incumbent players. The supply chain is put in place, the dealers are all there, the painters are all linked up. We have a strong brand presence across the country. Unless we make terrible mistakes, it's very unlikely that, we will start getting hit. Whether it will consolidate in our direction, whether we will, get more share, will depend on how we respond, to the changed circumstances, to the changing consumer demand. So it is, constantly, a few of the things which we have to keep doing. We have to improve our distribution network, at least in areas where we are weak. So those are crucial, decisions for us to take. How we do it is, will determine whether we gain share or we remain static.
Okay. So interesting times ahead for all of us. Companies also figuring out their strategies. But there is Mengai, but that's Berger Paints also saying that there will be very soon a need to hike prices as well. Thank you so much for joining us live today on The Market.
Thank you.